This is a short bite episode of Homeschool Together. Hello and welcome back to Homeschool Together. Thanks so much for joining us. Today we're talking about squirrels and nuts and squirrels going nuts. Another little fun game, kind of a puzzle game. It's a kind of like a we have these puzzle games where it's like cards and you have to solve them. We have the maze game with like the roller coaster one.
Yeah, there's a bunch of these are one player challenge type games.
Yeah.
And they're really great. It's especially great if you want to give your child something to do, either as a brain warm up or you want to work with another child on math or something, and you need to keep somebody occupied. This is really great. Also great for travel. Mm-hmm. And this one comes with a little travel case. So this is Squirrels Go Nuts, and this is from Smart Games. This is the first Smart Games that we have. There's a bunch of other Smart Games titles, and we haven't tried any. And this is the first one we've ever gotten. And I'm pretty impressed so far. So it's ages 6 to adult, it says. And it's 60 challenges. And like all of these, they start out from easy.
Like beginner, medium,
easy, intermediate, advanced, and then expert or whatever. And this is a little grid, and there are some holes in the grid where nuts could go, basically. Yeah. And what you have is little, like kind of Tetris-looking pieces. There's some that are a couple are straight, a couple that are little L's with squirrels on them, and there's a little hole in there, and you put the nut there. Mm-hmm. What you're trying to do is maneuver the squirrel over one of the holes in the game board to drop the nut. But it's one of these games where you have to move things in a certain order. So if you've played like Rush Hour, it's that kind of game.
It's very similar to those like kind of puzzle games where you're trying to put the puzzle together, but you have one free space and you're just moving pieces around until...
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those I find really frustrating. And I think it's because there's so many moves required. These ones are much more accessible.
Simpler, yeah.
Yeah, and I like that they build it up, right? It starts with the easy level, so maybe your 6-year-old can only do the easy level, or only easy and intermediate. And then as their skill grows and they get older, then they can tackle more. So this is the kind of thing our daughter will sit down and she'll just churn through challenge after challenge, trying all the different ways that she could.
Yeah.
So,
and there's a starting condition with every single
Yep, there's always a starting condition. So it'll say, place this many components on the board with this many nuts, and then move the pieces around until all of the nuts have fallen into holes. It doesn't tell you where each nut has to go. So that's kind of, maybe the most obvious direction. You could, this squirrel has a nut and it's right next to this hole. I can just push it there and get it. But maybe that's not the right hole for that nut.
Yeah.
Right. So on the box here, it lists that this works on the cognitive skills of planning, logic, problem solving, spatial insight, and concentration. So I think it's pretty great. It plays really quick. I mean, it depends how long it takes them to solve it.
It's visually like fun and playful. I mean, it's kind
of
big pieces and a little board and all those squirrels.
And the little board has a clear top, so you could take this with you in the car or something, as long as you don't have a small child is going to lose the little nut pieces. But, you could take this with you to go, which I think is great. And I like these little challenge.
Yeah, they get the brain moving,
games.
and I love the fact that there's a solution on the back. So if you get stuck, you can go back to it.
Right, and then they can learn how. And this is one of those things where, with our daughter, where I kind of work through. In the early levels, there's only so many options to move. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, you have to move this one here or this one here. Which one do we move? And what is the outcome after you've done that? It's almost like a logic tree. Yeah. And so it's kind of fun. We work through, and she's like, well, initially the only one I can move is this one. So we have to do that one. And once I move that one, okay, now what are your choices? Okay. Yeah. And so she can go through, and then if she doesn't figure it out, she goes back and goes, okay, well, where were my forks in the road? Let me choose the opposite direction. You can see her brain and the gears working.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I really like that. And I know that Smart Games has other puzzle type games like this.
Yeah, like this. Okay.
But this is nice and small, and I really
simple,
like that.
It's straightforward. It's a great one-player game that doesn't require a ton of rules or a ton of like complexity. Very simple, easy to play. Once your child has played it for a few minutes, you can let them go with it. I love these type of games. Great to pull off the shelf. Just like what you said is, especially now where I'm starting to learn that I need to distract or occupy a child while I can focus on another child while I'm homeschooling. These are great games to be able to, entertain those children in a more educational way, more of a, using their brains as opposed to just like, hey, go off and do whatever. I'm not to the point where my daughter can just go off and read a book while I homeschool, your younger sister. But these are the, great things to do. And also something like this, my younger daughter loves to watch my older daughter solve the puzzles, as she's, hey, do this, try this. And so it can be kind of a communal thing too, if you have a couple of younger kids.
That's true.
Especially if you have like, say, a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old, and they can work in solving the puzzles together. That's a great little thing they could do while you're homeschooling a younger kid. I love it. Squirrels go nuts, and we do. And our dog is sitting outside the door. Every time we say squirrel, her ears are kind of twitching. The squirrels in the backyard are the bane of her existence. She'll just sit there at the window. How dare you be in my backyard? So Squirrels Go Nuts, Smart Games. We'll have a link in the show notes below.
Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time,
happy homeschooling!